Hey, this is Kevin Kelly. Get ready for the latest episode of the Stardom Cast.
Guys, and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I am joined as ever by Mr. Matt Turner. Matt Turner, how are you, good sir?
Rob Goodwin, I am fantastic, my friend. How's everything with you there, sir?
It's not been bad. Unfortunately, we've had a bit of an issue with one of our cats who decided they wanted to sort of tempt fate by running in front of a car. The car won. Thankfully, touch wood, he's okay. He's come away with it with nothing but a displaced pelvis, which I must admit I've never heard of before, but he's thoroughly enjoying the extra attention. He's been treated like an absolute princess, so we are, at the moment, myself and my girlfriend, taking it in shifts to sit with him because we need to monitor his toileting, and it's like having a very small child, Matt, if I'm being perfectly honest. And whilst all this is happening, our other cat, Fred, doesn't really understand what's happened and is wondering why his constant meowing isn't getting the attention it usually gets. So I'm wondering if I'm going to get a cat mutiny on my hands at some point in the next week. But other than that, everything is good. What about you?
I'm glad your kitty's doing a little better. I know you texted me the other day and told me what happened. I was like, oh, geez. And of course, I told my wife, who we have two cats of our own, that she's absolutely, endured in love with them, as am I. Don't get me wrong, but she's just really the big cat person in the house. So she did want to tell me, good luck, and we hope that George is feeling better. But I'm doing terrific, my friend, and I actually have a question for you. I was going to text you or have the conversation on one of the many social media platforms we have, but I thought, you know what, the heck with it. This question and this mini conversation that we're about to have is going to make for some great audio podcasting. I did not want to cheat our listeners, the friends and the family of the Stardom Cast, of this conversation. But before I get into it, real quick, Mr. Rob Goodwin, I did have many, many people that asked if I made this year's PWI 500. As you know, the PWI 500 was just released about last week, and I did not make the PWI 500. However,
outrageous.
Yes. Outrageous, sir. However, good sir, I did make the Stardom Cast top 2. So out of all the co-hosts, in this podcast, the Stardom Cast, I finished in the top 2. So I just want to thank all the listeners and all the supporters that let me finish in the top 2 of this podcast here. What a great accomplishment, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a hard-fought competition. Some would argue more prestigious than the PWI 500. I, of course, am not saying that. I'm simply relaying what other people say. It was certainly an interesting list, as it always is. I think omitting the winner of the G1 Climax 33 entirely from a list of 500 people is bold, certainly, but
you finished the same place as me, buddy.
You and Naito are the same place. Have placed mate. I have never wrestled a day in my life, and I have placed at the same time as Tetsuya Naito. And if that's not depressing for the ungovernable one, then I don't know what is.
However, we may have placed higher because me and you both finished in the top 2 of the Stardom Cast co-hosting podcast. So congratulations, sir, by the way. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'll be expecting my card and plaque in the mail. Yeah.
Oh, So my question. Oh, go ahead, sir. Go ahead. Finish your
No,
thought.
please.
So my question to you is, sir. Now, obviously, this is the Stardom Cast podcast, and every now and again we will talk about different wrestling companies. Now, not unless you were living underneath a rock, pun intended. This past week, there's been many views on social media for the One World Wrestling Entertainment. It all started really on Friday morning when none other than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was on Pat McAfee's college football show. And I'm a big fan of college football for many reasons. One of the reasons why is college football comes on early. And I love when things come on early because I go to bed very, very early. So it's tough for me to stay up late. So The Rock was on Pat McAfee's college football show on Friday morning. And Pat McAfee just asked him and said, hey, there's rumors going around that you and Roman Reigns were supposed to wrestle at WrestleMania 39 in SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. What happened? And then The Rock was very adamant and very honest, said, right after WrestleMania 38, we pretty much had a done deal that me and Roman were going to main event WrestleMania 39. And then somewhere along the way, when we were doing the year buildup, we basically just lost, things just didn't make sense. And The Rock had to fall out. And then Pat McAfee asked him, hey, what about WrestleMania 40 in Philly? And he said it's a very, very real possibility. So all of a sudden, Friday morning and Friday afternoon, the rumors started going that we may see The Rock versus Roman Reigns next year at WrestleMania in Philadelphia. The rumors, Rob Goodman, only strengthened a little bit more when later on that night, The Rock appeared on WWE SmackDown to have a little segment with one Pat McAfee and Austin Theory that, as of this recording, has something over 100 million views on social media platforms, which is absolutely insane. Now, Rob, my question to you, good sir, my good friend, the author of the book, Living the Dream, Stardom's 10th anniversary in review, and the man who finished in the top 2 for the PWI top 2 Stardom Cast co-host. The Rock has not had an official match in 11 years. Now, I know some of the diehards may say, well, Matt, WrestleMania 32, he had that 30-second match with Eric Rowan. I'm not counting that. He has not had a match since WrestleMania 29. All of a sudden, we announced on this show about a month or so ago that Rob Goodwin is going to WrestleMania. Do you think that you have single-handedly changed The Rock's mind to come out of retirement for the first time in a decade to wrestle the biggest star in wrestling in Roman Reigns? Can we credit you that, or are you not allowed to say, buddy? I'm trying to get a scoop here. You got to help me out here.
All will be revealed. There's a lot of legal wranglings that I just can't get into right now. I don't want to jinx it. Of course, The Rock, a huge fan of the Stardom Cast. In fact, is one of our patrons. Hello, Dwayne, or D, as he likes to be known by. No. I sincerely doubt that that I have in any way willed this into existence. However, just the mere thought that I'll get to watch someone who was one of my wrestling heroes during the Attitude Era and everything else wrestle potentially one more match is very, very exciting. And then when you put on top of that, there are even more rumors that your trainer CM Punk might be making a return to WWE and might be wrestling at WrestleMania, and suddenly this WrestleMania card becomes very, very tasty.
Yeah, it sure does. And possibly the possible opponent might be Stone Cold Steve Austin. That might be a match. If he got goated out with that match with Kevin Owens, I think the CM Punk one is a little bit more tasty for him. No disrespect to Kevin Owens, but that's a match that they tried to get going for quite some time. And since Stone Cold put his feet back in the water 2 years ago at WrestleMania, that is a possibility. Real quick before we shift gears into the Stardom, I just want to make a quick little Matt Turner trivia note. The last time The Rock did wrestle, I was there. I was there at WrestleMania 29 for The Rock versus John Cena, where my good friend Paul, who you will be meeting, he will be joining us for all the WrestleMania festivities this year, passed out drunk during that match when it started to freezing rain as well. So you have a lot to look forward to, my friend. I'm just letting you know.
I mean, what a way to miss a match just to be that drunk that you just pass out. Love it. Honestly, I do fear for my liver and my safety for when I come over to Philadelphia, but that's by the by. Matt, it's been a busy day in the world of Stardom, and we're going to get into all of the news, and we're going to be talking about nights 15 and 16 of the 5-star Grand Prix. I am just going to say now that I know there was 2 dates, I believe, on the 18th and the 20th. They aren't out on Stardom World yet. Sonny is only human. So we won't be able to review them. I'm going to try not to spoil results for anyone, because I know they're not even out on Cage Match yet, the results. So I don't want to sort of go into that. So what we'll be doing is we'll be reviewing the shows from the 16th in Fukuoka and the 17th in Saga City. And I'll be doing whereas I've always done the points total at the end and things like that, I'll only be doing it from the end of the 17th. I won't be taking into account the 18th and the 20th. Again, because A, I don't want to give spoilers. B, because I haven't watched it yet and I don't want to ruin the results for me to get the points and everything like that. So a little bit of a disclaimer before we jump into everything. But before we jump into everything and news and something that blows this 5-star Grand Prix potentially completely wide open, as though this tournament needed that, Matt Turner, what's going on the Patreon this week?
The Patreon, good sir. This week, we released not 1, but 2 alternate commentaries. We went back to 1979, 3 years before I was born, as we paid tribute to the late, great Terry Funk and watched one of the most wildest matches I've ever seen, which is saying a lot, as Terry and Dory Funk team up, the famous Funk brothers, to take on the team of Abdul the Butcher and the Sheik. And we usually like to call it alternate commentary. That was more of like a watch along, brother, because it's really kind of, I like to give Rob is always very enthused and excited and gives you the background and everything. I can kind of give you guys like the psychology, why this is happening. There's certain strategies. This is just forks and bleeding and fireballs and just all sorts of wild chaos and amidst an absolute hostile crowd. So we released that one, and then we also released Champion vs. Champion, title for title, more of an alternate commentary from this past year's Flashing Champions, Mina Shirakawa taking on Tam Nakano. Also, coming up to end the month of September, crazy to say, by this time next week, give or take a day or two, we will have released the Azumi High Speed Championship run from 2022 and 2023. And also, what if Arisa Hoshinki did not get injured? And also, as well, a lot of stuff coming up next 7 or 8 days on the Patreon. Also, we'll be releasing our roundtable discussion that will be tagged in by a Patreon member. Part of the perks, folks, of being a Patreon member, you can get tagged in to these roundtable discussions. The roundtable discussion this month, Mr. Rob Goodwin, will be top 5 favorite Wonder of Stardom championship matches, and all those shows will. And also the an alternate commentary for next week will be the cage match. Loser leaves unit from just this past summer. Queen's Quest versus Oedo Tai. I believe that is being released. Correct me if I'm not wrong, Rob, because we did have a little technical issues, correct?
Yes, for anyone that is listening to this, we had a little bit of a snafu with the internet, technical term snafu. Basically, my internet dropped out and then just would not come back on. Thankfully, we'd done the match and we were literally on the point of Matt doing the sign-off on the podcast. So if you are an IWGP patron member or above, the chances are that bit may have corrupted. However, I've bought a brand new Wi-Fi adapter after a lot of research. Apparently, it is the best one on Amazon. So we'll see. We've had no issues yet, touch wood. But I have saved the video. We've got the audio, definitely, but it's we will see in terms of the video. Hopefully, no harm, no foul, and hopefully that will be in your feeds. The audio on Monday, and then the video as per usual on the Tuesday.
Which that'll take us to the end of the month of September. So we may as well tell you right here, right now, what we have going on in October. So for the alternate commentary, Rob, would you like to tell the fantastic listeners of the Stardomcast podcast, the friends and family, what are the matches that you have picked for our alternate commentaries coming up in the month of October?
Now, I believe, Matt, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, as I often am, am I right in thinking there is no theme this month? It is just whatever matches we feel like doing. That's correct, yes?
Yes, I think we're going to do that for October, possibly November, and then I will probably have to beg you for about 4 seconds to see if maybe we can have a Queen's Quest Christmas. Another story for another day. So yes, no theme. The theme is pick awesome matches. There's your theme.
And it's what a segue, because the two matches that I've picked are two of my favourite matches from 2021. The first is a match that I desperately try and get everyone who has, not seen it to watch it. It's one of my first go-to matches when people say, "Oh, Rob, what should I watch from Stardom?" And it's a match that everyone seems to forget. I know that Scotty Wrestling is a big fan of this match as well, but it is Hazuki and Utami Hayashishita from November 3rd, I believe, Kawasaki Super Wars 2021. It is Hazuki's third match, I believe, back after her retirement. An absolutely incredible match, and just it put to bed any doubt, any of those very, very small doubts that Hazuki couldn't still hang with the best. And then after that, my next pick is Giulia versus Starlight Kid from the Valentine's Day Korakuen Hall show. A match so good that people forget that Sourei and Azumi was the semi-main, and that was also a brilliant match. But this match was tremendous for the white belts. Obviously, Starlight Kid still a babyface. Giulia was becoming this imperious sort of monster at this point, just seemed completely untouchable, and that sort of disparity between the two made for an extremely entertaining match. And again, another match that I actively encourage you to check out. So those, Matt, are my picks for the alternate commentaries next week. But don't keep me hanging. What are we doing for yours?
Mine would be, now I just mentioned about a moment or two ago, I'm just wrapping up the Azumi High Speed Championship run. And going into the run, I figured that if I'm going to rank the matches, my favorite match from the run would be when Azumi beat Starlight Kid for the High Speed Championship back in February of 2022 at Cinderella Journey. And I know when we reviewed the Triangle Derby match that they had, we both liked the Cinderella Journey match a little bit better, but I went back and rewatched it just about a week ago. And I might like that match from 2023, just a few months ago, better. I'm not sure. We're going to go back and watch that one. So it's going to be Azumi defending the High Speed Championship against Starlight Kid from the Triangle Derby Finals in one of the greatest wrestling shows you'll ever see. Now, Mr. Rob Goodwin, piggybacking off one of the very few matches that you enjoy more than me, which is Utami versus Hazuki. Don't get me wrong, I love the match. I think I had it 4.25, 4.5 stars. I believe your book tells me that you had it at 4 3/4 stars. So I'm going to go to a match that I am shocked that you have not picked yet for the alternate commentary. It's a match that I love, but per the Stardom star ratings, you like this match a little bit more than me. This is a match I believe I had 4.5 stars, and you had this one at 4 3/4 stars. This match also takes place in the year 2021. It is from Budokan Hall, All-Star Dream Cinderella, Yoshiko versus Mayu Iwatani.
Great match. Really, really good match.
So those will be the 4 matches that we'll be doing. And Rob, the non-Stardom match of the month for October, what will it be, sir?
It will be perhaps one of the greatest Joshi matches of all time. We will be going back to 1993, and perhaps what is billed as the biggest Joshi show of all time. And we'll be going to see Shinobu Kandori and Akira Hokuto just absolutely destroying each other in one of the most bloody Joshi matches I've ever seen. Never mind Joshi matches, just matches, because the Crimson Mask that Akira Hokuto is wearing during this match at Dream Slam is just incredible. And we're talking about a minute and a half into the match. Yes, we're going back to Dream Slam 1, and we're going to be watching the most fabled match off an outstanding card.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to calling that one with you, my friend. Now, for the bi-weekly podcast, you still have about 3 or 4 days to get your vote in. You can vote for either Shiri's SWA title run, Arisa Hoshinki's 2019 Cinderella win, Tam Nakano's 2020 5-star Grand Prix run. Now, I know she did not win the 5-star tournament, but she had a fantastic run. Or Hazuki and Koguma FWC, their 2 tag championship runs from 2022. I know they had kind of like 2 short ones back to back. I'll be reviewing all the matches that they either defended or challenged for the Goddess of Stardom Championship run. Once again, Shiri's SWA title run, Arisa's 2019 Cinderella win, Tam Nakano's 2021 5-star Grand Prix run, or FWC their tag team championship runs, plural, in the year 2022. Those are what you'll be able to vote for. So you can either pop up over to my Twitter page, Matt Turner OF, or X, whatever it's called this week, or shoot me an email. Let me know what you want to vote for. Now, Rob, just about a minute or two ago, you mentioned one of the greatest matches in Joshi wrestling history, and that is a good segue for what our roundtable discussion is going to be. We're going to be doing our top 5 favorite, not just Joshi, women's wrestling matches, whether it's Stardom, whether it's All Japan, whether it's Sendai Girls, whether it's WWE, whether it's Shimmer, be top 5 favorite women's matches of all time. And we will be joined by somebody that is absolutely beloved on our show. Maybe the most popular person to ever grace our show, maybe. The one and only, always entertaining, always energetic, one Allison Danger.
I'd argue perhaps more popular than both me and you, which is concerning. But it's always a blast to have Allison Danger on. I cannot wait to talk our favourite Joshi matches, our favourite women's wrestling matches from around the world. Very, very exciting to see what nuggets and what gems Allison picks, and what you pick as well, sir, because I'm sure you're going to have at least one sort of left-wing pick, shall we say, just out of nowhere, and I'm excited by that.
Yeah, I will wholeheartedly kind of agree with you. Said Allison is definitely more popular than me and you. The only reason why I said maybe is maybe Scotty Wrestling and Karen Peterson are maybe the only 2 other people that are more beloved on the show than her. But yeah, people like her more than me and you, buddy. We set the bar high, but Allison, Scott, and Karen, they're just they're the icing on the cake that is the Stardom cast, buddy.
Hey man, I mean, I'll be perfectly honest, our episodes with Karen are up there with our most downloaded episodes, so Karen's money. What can I say? I'm looking forward to this, though. I'm looking forward to talking with Allison again, because like you mentioned, incredibly entertaining podcasts without fail. Let's kick into some of the news then from the Stardom sphere, and we should probably start with the biggest news item that broke today, and that is that Utami Hayashishita is injured. Unfortunately, she had to forfeit her match against Mirai in the 5-star Grand Prix due to injury. Stardom haven't made any sort of announcement yet in regard to her health or in regard to if she's going to be okay for the rest of the tournament. From what we understand, it's her neck. It's heavily taped up, but that's really all the information that we have. I think it would be wrong to speculate, the extent of the injury until Stardom have made an announcement, and it would certainly be wrong to speculate if her 5-star Grand Prix is over, and obviously, in just a couple of months' time, in less than 3 weeks, I believe, we have got the start of the Goddess of Stardom Tag League, where she'll be teaming with Lady C. It's a real kick to the nether regions, especially when you consider that this tournament started in the worst possible way when Sayaka Hamatani, who was, according to the Wrestling Observer, who was sort of touted to win the entire tournament, was injured within her first match, dislocating and maybe, I think, breaking her wrist. And she's still out, but then to lose Utami as well, potentially, who many people have said possibly could go all the way in Saya's stead, is extremely sad. Extremely sad. And obviously, we wish nothing but the best for Utami. But Matt, injuries never come at a good time. But good God, this has come at an absolutely awful time for both Utami and for Stardom.
Yeah, again, we're not going to speculate just because we don't have all the all the news, and we want to be respectful to Utami and her fan base, which mean you are huge parts of that, and Stardom as well. But yeah, if it is her neck, if that's the thing, especially the fact that she'd be wrestling Mirai, I believe that match was going to take place today, as of this recording, I believe, and that match was going to be hard hitting. A lot of Mirai's offense focuses on the necks with the lariats, with the mirror Mirai's. And as much as, Mirai would protect Utami, he's still going to be on that neck. And the neck is something you don't want to mess around. I understand sometimes you can work through like a shoulder, an arm, a knee, something like that. You can kind of work through that. The neck is something you do not want to mess around with. So obviously, yes, she had to forfeit her match with Mirai. She has 2 more matches left with Hanan and Giulia on that final night, which actually could be, because she was, I believe, going in today leading the block. So there's a possibility that she did have 3 more matches left. So yeah, again, we don't want to speculate at all. I mean, we'll see once Stardom has further clarifications. Maybe she just needs a day or 2 off, maybe to rest and recover her neck a little bit. We don't know how bad it is. But when you talk about like taped up necks, the first thing that comes to mind is Arisa Hoshinki. You would see getting towards the end of her unbelievable run with the Wipeout, the Wonder of Stardom Championship belt, with her neck and shoulder being as taped up as it was. It wasn't just like one big bump that mirrored that injury. It was just just compounding bump after bump after bump, hard hitting match after hard hitting, that eventually Arisa was like, you know what, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And obviously we do not want that for Utami at all. Obviously her safety and her well-being is the most important, more important than professional wrestling. But if she has to bow out of one match or the rest of these matches to heal herself up and come back, whether it's in a month, whether it's at the end of the year, whether it's a year, who knows? But obviously we wish Utami a speedy recovery. And if that is the case, Rob, again, I don't want to speculate. If that is the case, this blows the tournament wide open just to see who can win. But the good thing for Star, I'm going to spin this in a positive way, brother, because that's how I am, and that's what I do. If Saya was supposed to win, and that's going to go to Saya, it's going to go to Utami, who I had picked as the winner, and so did many other people. With Stardom's roster being as stacked as it is, you can go with a Hazuki, you can go with a Shuri, you can go with the Giulia going back to back, or you can finish that story with Mina and Tam at the end of the year. So you look at that perspective. Obviously, I'm a huge, huge fan of Utami, and I hope she's not done with the 5-star. But again, you look at this may open up the door for somebody else with just that absolute stacked roster. So by the time this comes out, Rob, by the time you listen to this, whether it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, what have you, maybe we'll have some more clarification. But I think I speak for not only everybody on this podcast, but all of the fans of Stardom when we wish Utami a speedy and healthy recovery.
Absolutely, and you've hit the nail on the head there, Matt, by sort of talking about who this opens the door to. And that's my next question, really, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in a moment, sort of putting that positive twist on a really negative situation. Obviously this is dreadful for Utami if it is the worst. Obviously for Stardom, when you think about the Saya Kamatani injury, the one silver lining to that injury was that it happened at the very start of the tournament, so that necessary changes could be made, results could be changed, point tallies can be recalculated, things like that. Utami's injury, there are people that have only got 1 match left, 2 matches left. There's the odd wrestler who's got 3 matches left, but there aren't many. So Stardom have got their work cut out to try and desperately recalibrate this situation. And this is, of course, if Utami misses the rest of the tournament, and if she was even scheduled to reach the final. There's no confirmation at all that Utami was slated to top Blue Block. We don't know. However, you look at how, especially the 2 days that we're going to look at today, you look how they have panned out, especially in Red Block. We seem to be a little clearer on where we're going with that block. However, if you think that Tam is still going to be champion at Dream Queendom, okay, if you take that, you make that a thing, she's not going to drop the belt before then. There are several options you can go down when it comes to Dream Queendom. Now, the most sensible for me, and I'm sure for you, Matt, is the one you've already mentioned. Run Tam versus Mina back and have Mina dethrone Tam. That would, I mean, to be fair, you don't even need Mina to dethrone Tam. It can go to a really hard fought 27, 28 minute match with Tam just getting the victory. Keep that story rolling. That match, I feel, would do well at a Ryogoku. Now, obviously, we still haven't had confirmed that there will be a Dream Queendom. We are assuming that. But if that's the case, Mina and Tam is an option. Maika and Tam, because obviously Maika is also going to be in the mix on the final night in Blue Box, it will be a good match. There's not a considerable amount of history there, though, with Maika and Tam, and with that, would they do well in the build? We know they'd have a phenomenal match. Like, that goes without saying. It's Tam and it's Maika. I mean, good God, it would be fantastic, but is it main event of your biggest show of the year? I don't know. You look at Red Block, you've got Hazuki, who I personally think, because I'm incredibly biased, I personally think that would be a great way to go. Have Hazuki win the tournament. Have Hazuki go on to face Tam at Dream Queendom. Hazuki doesn't have to win. Okay, if you want to keep the belt on Tam, that's absolutely fine. And then sort of maybe swap the belt over when Utami comes back, if that's what you want to do. Suzu Suzuki is another option, but again, sort of struggles with the same issue as Maika. There's not a great deal of history there. Time is running out, though, for Stardom, because looking at the blocks that I've got in front of me, these are already 2 nights old. So there are people here who have now been eliminated from the tournament. So the pool is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So fingers crossed that Utami is going to be okay for her final 2 matches against Hanan and Giulia. If not, then obviously we wish her nothing but the best. It's the whole being strapped up to the 9s on her back and neck. It's never good. And I just hope, fingers crossed, that we do get Utami back. Matt, if you were given the book, if Stardom gave... This has turned into an impromptu version of What If.
This is what we do, folks. There's a little preview for you. First one's free.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. I think if you were given the book, if I was given the book, I'd go Hazuki. That's just me. And that's because I am unflinchingly biased. But I do think Mina is a good way to go as well. If you were given the book, I think I know which way you'd go, but just confirm it for everyone.
You know what? I literally have 2 on the top of my head, but I'm curious, what are you thinking that I would go with?
I think you'd go for Mina again.
That is actually probably my 3rd option.
What? Interesting.
That one works. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob. They're going to be, if they run this show, they're going to run it in Ryogoku Sumo Hall, where they did 1 and 2, right? Queendom 1 and 2, and they did about 3,000 people. So you want to do about 3,100. So I'm looking at this as a business aspect. Again, we're assuming Tam, who's a big draw for Stardom, is in the main event with the red belt.
I know where you're going with this.
So now, okay, Mina is a great option. You're going to tell that story. Will they draw 3,000 people with Mina and a really good undercard? It's a possibility. My 1B would be Tam wins it, and you do Tam and Mayu champion versus champion, title for title, because they've teased they were going to do that. And keep in mind, Korakuen Hall is a very legendary building for professional wrestling. Stardom drew the most amount of people for the year 2023, which is this year, if you're keeping count, Rob. 2023 for the 5-star, with Mayu versus Tam on top, going to a draw. Last time they wrestled, they went 30 minutes and went to a draw. And Tam is considerably better now than she was in 2021. So if you do Tam, no time limit. You basically did what you did at Dream Kingdom 1 with SWA versus Red Belt with Shiri and Utami. That's a way to go. That would be my 1B. But I'll tell you what my 1A would be if I was given the book. Again, there's a lot of different avenues that you can go. Can you go Hazuki? Absolutely. Just like you, I'm a huge Hazuki fan. I'm all for that. Can you go Maika? Sure. I don't know if that's going to draw 3,000 people, not unless you get a really, really strong undercard, but it's going to be a great match. But if you're asking me right now, as this recording, if I was to get a phone call right now and they said, Matt, you need to pick who's winning this 5-star, I go with Giulia. Back to back. She's one of the hottest wrestlers in the world right now. Again, she's another one that supposedly has a bruised tailbone. So just like, can you? And I know she's got the strong championship and whatever, and maybe does she drop that to Mercedes somewhere down the line, or we do that later? I don't know, but I think that when Giulia first won this belt last year on that phenomenal match with Shiri, we all thought that we were going to be getting not only a long run, but I even said in this podcast, I think she's going to threaten EO's V14. And we didn't get that. So I think Giulia now is a hotter commodity in the world because of what she's doing with that strong belt. And the fact that her name has been thrown around all over. We heard her name on AEW TV. She wrestled at the ECW Arena on that Impact show. So that would be my option, is to have Giulia go back to back, and then for her defeat. We know Tam and Giulia, it's going to sell. I know some people are like, I'm sick of Tam and Giulia. I'm not. Give it to me, very much like Tanahashi, Okada, Misawa Kawada. Those guys have wrestled a zillion times. I'm fine with Tam and Giulia wrestling every 4 or 5 months. I have no problem with it. I appreciate the violence, the psychology, the effort that they put in. So that's what I would go with. But there's a lot of viable options, my friend, a lot of viable options. But I just want to say before we close this segment out and move to the next thing, not unless there's anything else you want to add, partner, that me and you were texting early this morning. We were talking about this, that I think us as fans of any sport, whether it's pro wrestling, whether it's soccer, whether it's football, whether it's real baseball, anything, is we need to appreciate the sacrifice that these athletes make on their bodies for our entertainment and our enjoyment. Whether they're making $100 a show or whether they're making, $200 or $300 million over 4 or 5 years. I've seen some of these contracts and just insane. At the same time, they are sacrificing their bodies for our entertainment. It's not just one bump or one thing. It's the cumulative hits that they take. Not only that, but majority of these athletes, if they're top tier athletes, they're in the gym, they're training, and they're putting their bodies through rigorous training to be in the best shape so they can perform in the ring or on the football field or the soccer field or the basketball parquet. So when people hear, I hear it all the time in the gym, on Saturdays and Sundays, when I hear people saying, oh, that quarterback's terrible, or this running back in the NFL is terrible. How are you terrible if you're in the NFL? You have to be the best in high school and the best of college. Like, you're not a bad wrestler if you're in Stardom. You are not a bad wrestler if you're in the WWE. You're not a bad wrestler if you're in New Japan. You obviously have been picked to be there for a reason. So I just think us as fans need to appreciate what these athletes do for our entertainment. And I just want to say that.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with you. I love the idea, just getting back to what you said, of Tam winning and then choosing Mayu, because if you look at history, Tam and Mayu is up there. Don't forget, Tam has not beaten Mayu. So it doesn't even have to be a title for title match. In fact, I would prefer it not to be a title for title match, because I feel like the IWGP Women's Champ, people who listen to this podcast know my feelings about that belt, but I feel like that would be a really interesting way to go. Because if Tam was to win it, we've never had a tournament won by the World of Stardom champion. The World of Stardom champion has never won it. Io Shirai dropped the belt, I think, 12 days before the tournament started, and then won it back in 2014. Nanae Takahashi was the champion in the same year, I think, in 2013, but didn't win it. 2012, but didn't win it. So, yeah. No, 2013. Yuzuki Akao won it in 2012. That would be a really interesting way to go. Makes the tournament special. And then you've instantly got a main event. I talked about, would Maika and Tam do good numbers at a Ryogoku? Would Tam versus Hazuki? Tam versus Mayu definitely would. Especially when you put the history of Tam trying to finally surpass Mayu Iwatani, trying to finally beat Mayu for the first time, and it for being for the biggest prize in Stardom. And it'd be fantastic if Mayu won. Can you imagine? And then we continue that further down the line. That'd be beautiful. It won't happen, but that would be beautiful. Anyway, we said we wouldn't speculate, and then we've ended up speculating. Let's move on. Let's move on a little bit, and let's move on to a little bit more of good news, and that is that the New Japan Strong Women's Championship will be defended at Fighting Spirit Unleashed. That is going to be at Saturday, October 28th in Sam's Town in Las Vegas, Nevada. Giulia is prevalent on the poster. She is being advertised for the show, and when New Japan announced the show, they said that all of the strong titles are going to be defended. So whether, obviously, I don't know if Eddie Kingston has managed to defeat Claudio to remain the champion. However, he is being advertised for the show and Claudio isn't, so make of that what you will. But Giulia is very, very big on that poster. So she is 100% going to be there. The reason I bring this up is because that pretty much rules her out of the Halloween Dark Night show, which is Stardom's Halloween pay-per-view that is going to be on the 29th, the day after, at the Takikawa Stage Garden. So it looks, Matt, like Giulia isn't going to be on that show. And it does make me think, and again, tell me if I'm wrong, it would make sense for Nagoya Golden Fight, where the full card has been announced, October 9th. It would make sense for Barry Bombers to drop the Artist of Stardom belts so that they can be defended whilst Giulia is off defending the strong title, especially when you consider that Mai Sakurai is in and out with injury. Tekla is barely featured on these cards, so it would make sense for the Barry Bombers to drop the belts to, I believe, is it Maika, Suzuki, and Megan Bain they're taking on? It would make sense, wouldn't it?
That is a possibility, but also, too, if you have a lot of people who are going to be tuning into that show, basically for New Japan, and seeing Giulia for the first time, when she has two belts, they may say, okay, that one there is obviously the New Japan Strong. You know, we know that, but what is that other one that she has? And then maybe that's the rabbit hole that you fell down. I think that's the miss that they had with Tam not coming out with the, or Tam wasn't one half of the Goddess Championship going into the Tokyo Dome earlier this year. Another story for another day, another rant. But maybe that's a way they can go. You can go either or, really. I mean, I see your point, and I'm kind of leaning a little bit more towards you. But at the same time, if Giulia does retain, she can be Giulia two belts on that show, and people, when they see that she's 1/3 of the Artist of Stardom champions, we may have some questions asked and refer to us, and we'd be more than happy to tell you what that belt is all about and what Giulia is all about. That's what they're here for. But my question to you is, sir, is what is the name of this pay-per-view for the end of October for Stardom?
Fighting Spirit Unleashed. Oh, the Stardom one. Sorry, I apologize. Yes. It's called Halloween Dark Night.
So we don't get Giulia, because I'm assuming Giulia is obviously going to be in Vegas. But however, per that title, correct me if I'm wrong, are they not advertising the Dark Knight himself, Batman, to be on that show? So Rob Goodwin, my question is to you, is you asked me to book the 5-star. I'm asking you, which of the Stardom wrestlers is wrestling the Dark Knight himself, Batman, on this show? How are you, sir, going to draw some pay-per-view buys and asses in seats for this show? Who's wrestling Batman?
I feel like there is only one correct answer to this, and that is, of course, Fukigen Death. Because you know for a fact that Fukigen Death would come up in some sort of weird cosplay thing and then would roll Batman up in 3 minutes, especially if it's a multi-person. But yes, perhaps, maybe we will see Batman challenge for the World of Stardom Championship. Who knows? Maybe the 5-star is moot and they're just going to bring in DC superheroes to challenge Tam.
My thing is real quick, and I know we're off the rails.
Dude, what is happening to this podcast?
This is why we do so well, because we have like an outline. It's just like, it's like an ECW pay-per-view. Just throw it out the window, and people love it. Thank you. We appreciate you listening. My thing would be, I love that idea, how awesome would it be? Batman comes out, and all of a sudden Natsupoi comes out, does her flip, and does Bai-Poi to Batman. I mean, that's just cashing money right there.
I don't know if you've seen on Twitter going around. I don't know what show it's from, but there is angry Natsupoi doing angry Bai-Poi now, and honestly, the angry Bai-Poi might be my favorite thing in the entire world, and I have clipped it, and I have made it my message tone. So whenever I get a text, I just get Bai-Poi, which is just.
Is there any way you can send that to me? I want that. Oh my God, I'll be single by the time October rolls around. My wife will be like, "That's it. I can't take anymore. I've taken enough of your BS."
You do realize if you get that as your message tone, I'm texting you every minute for at least an hour, so it just carries on and on and on and on. Oh. Anyway, let's quickly move on before the podcast does completely fall off the rails. It was also announced this morning that New Japan and Stardom will be doing what is called a joint strategy presentation. And this is going to be on October 10th, which is the night after the show in Nagoya. The pay-per-view in Nagoya, which, as you mentioned before, Matt, is a Monday. This is going to be at the Ueno Airship Theatre. Now, there has been a lot of people speculating what could happen and what could be being announced on this show, the most prevalent theory being another historic crossover show, which would take place the only day currently, and thank you to Sky Wrestling for pointing this out, the only day free for both Stardom and New Japan, I believe, is the 19th of November, which is the same date as they ran Historic Crossover last year. Now, it could be something completely different. Obviously, New Japan have just announced that they are basically revamping New Japan World entirely. Maybe it's something like that with Stardom. I don't know. Maybe they're doing their version of the Wrestle Universe and it's all going to go under one app. I don't know. We will find out. But yes, that's going to be October the 10th, 7 p.m. Japan time. It's certainly something to keep your eye on. But if I was a betting man, and I'm not because I'm useless, as you've seen from predictions, I would say that it is going to be the announcement of Historic Crossover 2 Electric Boogaloo, Matt.
That would be my guess, but I have another question for you, sir. I'm throwing all sorts of questions here for you. Is which member of the New Japan roster does Mayu either set on fire or hit with their car? I'm going with Evil.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, I'm sure Evil is engaged to Io Shirai, so I imagine because Mayu's close with Io, she's probably close with Evil anyway. But yeah, I imagine there will be quite a few New Japan fans who, in kayfabe at least, wouldn't be opposed to Evil being hit with a car. I imagine it would be someone like a Taguchi or something like that, because you know the kind of nonsense that him and Mayu do. Tori Yano or something is just trying to plug his YouTube channel. Who knows? But I think if anyone from New Japan was to dress up as Batman, it would 100% be Taguchi. 100%. Final thing I just want to dip into then in terms of the news before we kick into the 2 5-star shows we're going to be talking about today is to do with the the New York Joshi promotion, Sukiban. Their full card has been announced for September the 21st, and it is as follows. What I'll do is, and again, Scotty Wrestling, what a guy. He's actually given the full card in their kayfabe names and then in the names that we are more likely to know. So I will do my best to run down this card, give you their Sukiban names and the names that you may know them a little bit more. And there's a few on here that I didn't realise were actually wrestling for the promotion, so keep your ears peeled for that. So we open with a 6-woman tag. That's going to be Crush You, Supersonic and Rico Blondie versus Atomic Banshee, Otaku-chan and Bingo. Now that is you, Natsuki Teo, randomly, Enrico Kaiju versus Ram Kachao, Kaori Yoniyama, and Hiroya Matsumoto. So some Stardom alumni there in Natsuki Teo, still the longest reigning high-speed champion, and Hiroya Matsumoto, part of Team Jungle. I believe one third of the Artist of Stardom champions with Dakota Kai, as she is now. And she was also one half of the Goddess of Stardom champions with Jungle Kiona. We then got a three-way Saki Bimi versus Queen Takase versus a mystery opponent, and that is going to be Saki of Colors, friend of the show Saki, and Miyuki Takase, and then obviously we have got the mystery opponent. Matt, you wondered where where Tomoka Inaba was in terms of this card. Well, she is on this card. She'll be wrestling under the name Stray Cat. So it's Midnight Player versus Stray Cat. Midnight Player is Aoi, and Tomoka Inaba is going to be wrestling as Stray Cat. We've then got, in our semi-main, a tag team match, Maya Mamushi and Babyface versus Commander Nakajima and Lady Antoinette. They are Mai Yukihi and Ancham versus Arisa Nakajima and Risa Seira. And then in our main event, the title eliminator is Countess Saori and Ichigo Sayaka, which is, of course, Saori Ano and Unagi Sayaka. So, Matt, some interesting names on that card, but perhaps even more interestingly is where the event is going to air. So there was quite a few people who were like, is it going to air on YouTube? Is it going to be done on video and then it's going to be on tape delay? How are we going to be able to see Sukiban's first show? It turns out it is going to air exclusively on TikTok, which I must admit threw me a little bit. I mean, it is very innovative. It is the first time, I believe, a wrestling promotion has run exclusively on TikTok. I don't know anywhere near enough when it comes to the nitty-gritty of how that would make money, how many people would have to watch the show, especially when you consider the amount of people that they are flying in for this show. It just took me a little bit by surprise. Matt, what about you?
My teenage daughter has been asking me for about a year and a half to get a TikTok to help promote wrestling and this podcast. And this is a sign from the heavens. This is a sign that I guess she has won, because I will have to create I believe the show is Thursday. I think they said it's the day before, or tomorrow, or I guess as this drops, yesterday. Because I thought I heard somebody say it's the day after AEW Grand Slam, which is smart because you're going to have, roughly 10,000 wrestling fans in the area. So then you're going to catch a, Joshi show the next day. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, but it's not airing this week, correct?
As we record, it is airing tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I will probably be creating a TikTok sometime, probably tonight. So I know my daughter does not listen to this podcast. Congratulations, kiddo. You win again, because Dad is going to have to get a TikTok. So that means you may see some Matt Turner dancing. I don't know. Isn't that what TikTok's for? Usually like dancing videos. So
I honestly could not tell you, my friend. However, if we do get a Stardomcast TikTok, you know for a fact that me and you are busting out the Meltier dance in Philly when we're
Yes, done deal. TikTok, that seals it. That is now 101% that we are restarting a TikTok, because you heard it here, folks. Now Rob edits this out. that we will be doing the Meltier dance WrestleMania weekend. So if we have The Rock versus Roman and Austin versus versus CM Punk, those are the second and third biggest things to happen WrestleMania weekend, brother. Because neither of any of those four ever finished in the top two of the Stardom cast co-hosts. So we have, sir. We have. So
damn right.
But yeah, back to the show. Anyway, the fact that we have Anabe versus Aoi, and they have obviously really great history in Just Tap Out. And then we have Saori Ano teaming with Unagi. So you kind of have the Cosmic Angels thing there. So if we're going to kind of wrap this into the whole Stardom thing. But the show seems did they announce like what the main event was going to be, Rob, or was just that kind of just the lineup?
No, the main event is going to be the title eliminator between Saori Ano and Unagi Sayaka. So whether that is going to be part of a wider tournament to crown the first champion, or whether that is literally a vacant championship match, I don't know. I'm sort of leaning towards it being the first match in a wider tournament to crown the first champion.
Yeah, it should be interesting, but I know that they sold out pretty fast. I know that they have a lot of views already and a lot of subscribers to their social media. So this is only going to help the state of Joshi wrestling. And I understand they're kind of going with the whole anime cosplay thing, and especially in New York City, especially with New York Comic Con coming up in about a month, which I will be attending. I understand that way, but just because I'm so easily confused, as you know, so now you're taking the wrestlers where I'm finally, where I know their names, and you're putting them in different kind of almost like superhero themes. It's really cool, but I really appreciate the fact that Scotty broke it down to like, here's the name that they're going with, here's the name Regardless, there's a lot of Stardom alumni on that match, a ton of talent on that show, and something that if they're streaming for free on TikTok, I recommend everybody go and check it out because it's going to be a hoot of a time. Rob Goodwin.
Absolutely, and I'm intrigued to see how this anime sort of way that they've gone with this. I'm really intrigued to see how it plays out in terms of an actual show, because we talked about it last week about how it was quite a few people had said it was sort of Lucha Underground vibes, which I was a huge fan of Lucha Underground, so that I'd be more than up for that. The one name for me that immediately jumps out is Natsuki Teo, because I had no idea that she had come out of retirement. And we were just talking about her yesterday on the Patreon, which is bizarre. But yes, for coverage of Sukiban, go and check out their social media, but also check out Scotty Wrestling, because he breaks things down beautifully over on his Twitter. So let's move on to our show reviews, the two nights from the 5-Star Grand Prix, night 16 and night 17. We start with night 16, Saturday the 16th of September 2023, from the Fukuoka Island City Forum in Fukuoka, in front of 495 people. As per usual, I will go through the results and then we'll talk and cherry pick the matches that we're going to talk about. So, in terms of our opener, Meisera defeated Waka Tsukiyama in 6 minutes and 23 seconds with the Shooting Star. In a 6-woman tag match, the Uedatai team of Starlight Kid, Momo Watanabe, and Ruaka defeated the Stars team of Hanan, Koguma, and Sairida, with Momo submitting Sairida in 8 minutes and 18 seconds.
It gets better, buddy.
I know. With the chicken wing. In tag team action, Megan Bain and Suzu Suzuki defeated the team of Hanako and Utami Hayashishita in 7 minutes and 23, with Megan Bain debuting a new finish, what she's calling the choke bomb, which is sort of like a sit-out tree slam, for lack of a better phrase. We've then got a 3-way tag match with the God's Eye team of Mirai and Saki Kashima defeating the Club Venus team of Mina Shirakawa and Mariah May, and Saori Ano and Yuna Mizumori, with Saki pinning Yuna with the Kish Kasai in 7 minutes and 54 seconds. We then get to our 3 5-star Grand Prix matches. We start in red block with Tam Nakano moving to 9 points, defeating Amisori, who remains on 4 points, in 10 minutes and 2 seconds with the Tiger Suplex. We then get back-to-back Fukuoka natives with Hazuki in red block moving to 8 points, defeating Natsupoi, who remains on 9 points in 12 minutes and 29 seconds with the vertical drop brainbuster. And then in your main event, the 5-star Grand Prix blue block match, Maika moves to 7 points, defeating Azumi, who remains on 6 points, hitting the Michinoku Driver 2 in 8 minutes and 43 seconds. Before we talk about the 5-star Grand Prix matches, Matt, and despite some of the, I don't want to say big hitters, but obviously no Mayu, no Giulia, no Utami, no Sourei, sort of taking part in these matches. Obviously, you have still got Tam, still got Hazuki, still got Maika, still got Natsupoi. For me, the MVP of this night, maybe Tam and Amisori wasn't my favourite match of the night. That would fall to Maika and Azumi. But Amisori was my MVP of the night because she threw everything at Tam during their match. I thought here was the brilliant epitomization and the brilliant culmination of her tournament. We knew she wasn't going to get many points, but there was more about performances, just like it is for Hanan, and we're going to be talking about Hanan later on in the show. But for me, Ami Sourei knocked it out of the park, even in defeat against Tam. But before we talk any more about that, what should people be going out of their way to see on this undercard?
Rob Goodwin, I do not like to correct you, but I could be wrong. You called May Sarah's finish the shooting star. I believe it's called the rolling star. I think the shooting star, I think of the shooting star press. I think she calls that roll up the rolling star. And if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I think it's called the rolling star. Anywho, good sir, the undercard was pretty solid. If there's one match that you would want to watch on the undercard, it would be that Utami and Hanako versus Suzu Suzuki and Megan Bayne, simply for the exchange between Suzu Suzuki and Utami. Literally, my note I have circled is I want to see a Utami Suzu Suzuki singles match in the worst way, my friend. Their throwdown was absolutely fantastic, and you can tell they have immediate chemistry in that ring. And we did see it when they did have the Artists of Stardom Championship match. I believe it was the main event of Cork and Hall, where it was Utami, Azumi, and Saya Kamatani versus the Prominence team of Hiragi, Arisa Sera, and Suzu Suzuki, where they had really good exchanges there. So that is a match that I'm definitely penciled in that I would love to see somewhere down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And this Megan Bayne and Suzu Suzuki team, and throwing May Sarah in there, I feel like I compliment that team repeatedly. But they're so good. The dynamic is so good. And can we talk a little bit about how over Megan Bayne is with the crowd? I honestly thought, and I'm so glad I'm wrong, I thought she would be a flash in the pan. And come the end of Stardom X Stardom, when she lost to Tam in the towel match, I assumed she would be quietly forced down the card, and then, her tour would end and she'd leave. However, on this undercard, her matches and her chemistry with Suzu Suzuki, with May Sarah, and the way that they've booked her has made her must see. So credit to Megan Bayne and credit to Stardom, Matt.
Again, you have a roster that's stacked with the best wrestlers in the world, the Mayus, the Giulias, the Suzu Suzukis, the Saya Kamatanis, the Utamis. I can go on and on and on. So you have Megan Bayne coming in, and she's got to do something to stand out. And she's doing that. You're not going to get a 35-minute, 5-star match, at least not the way that she's presenting her. And you don't want to, because you already have a zillion wrestlers that are doing that. Can't you do that? Possibly. She had a great match with Tam, blew everybody's expectations out the door, but she's presenting something completely different. When she comes out of that curtain, she completely separates. You literally can't take your eyes off her, between her stoic look, her intensity, the gear, everything she has, and she's presented as such a star, as that when she's teaming with a Maika, who's just as strong as her, when she's teaming with a Suzu Suzuki, who's just as violent as her, it all works. However, then she teams with the May Sarah, completely different chemistry, but it works. So it just goes to show the range that Megan Bayne has. And again, in a roster that is completely stacked to the gills, she's doing a great job having her matches and her presentation stand out. So yeah, excellent job on Stardom, the way that they're booking her and they have been booking her, and excellent job on her being able to execute the way that she has. So, and not only that, just the wrestlers she's teaming with and the wrestlers she's standing across the ring with as well. Everybody is doing a great job to get Megan Bayne over to the degree that she has.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's important is she's being billed, I keep going back to the interview that she gave, where she wants to bring something that Stardom doesn't have. She wants to be, I think she referenced Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker, which is an interesting combo when you're talking about Stardom, but she wanted to bring that sort of vibe. And you hear Brock Lesnar and, you sort of worry about how the booking is going to affect other people. And how it's going to affect her as well. But I think Stardom have done a fantastic job of booking her as this monster, but also getting other people over. Because May Sarah, phenomenal wrestler. But the way she interacts with Megan Bayne, the way Suzu Suzuki interacts with Megan Bayne, the way that Megan Bayne has become this sort of mum to Suzuki and Maika and has to keep breaking up their arguments, and she doesn't really want to have anything to do with them, but she's on a team with them. They've done really, really well integrating different things to make her less than just a one-dimensional monster. And I think that is credit to everyone involved. Hanako continues to impress me. And obviously there was a lot more focus on her with her being the only rookie on the card, but I think she continues to improve, continues to impress me, whether it's the strength with which she shows or whether it's the pace that she's able to sort of accelerate into in some of these moves as her confidence grows. I know that we talked a while ago about her maybe being in that Himika mold, and I think with Himika having retired, having bequeathed upon her the JP coaster, I'm seeing it more and more, this Himika connection with Hanako, and I think she's doing very well to lean into that, because that could be very, very good for her going forward, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point, my friend. Great point.
And when you think that Utami Hayashishita was in this match, and she's the one we've talked about least, but even so, very good match. Go and check it out. I want to talk about these 5-star matches, and I want to talk
Let's do that. Let's do it. If that's what you want to do, buddy, I'm here for you. Let's do it.
Thank you so much. Let's talk about Tam and Amisori, because I think everyone came into this match knowing that Tam was going to win. Tam, of course, still has a chance of winning the block. Amisori has been eliminated and has been eliminated for a long time. However, we talked last year about how Hanan's performances really endeared herself to the crowds, even though she was losing. The same with Momokogo, perhaps not to the same extent, but, it's not, as you've said before on this podcast, Matt, it's not the result, it's how you lose. And I think Amisori, especially in the last couple of weeks, has really embraced that, because here she came out of the traps like you would not believe at Tam. And for the 10 minutes of this runtime, I would argue that it's 80% Amisori offense. And she doesn't hold back. She throws everything at Tam, and it's only at the end when Tam is able to navigate and sort of weather that storm and finally hit that tiger suplex that she gets that foothold in the match, because it does feel like Ami takes Tam very much by surprise in the early goings in this match.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head, brother. It's not who goes over, who gets over. And I will say, Amisori, she might have had her best matches back to back, like in her career. Obviously, I've never seen her stuff before Stardom, but this match with Tam, and then the next night, which we'll talk about with Suzuki. And Ami's had some really good matches. Her white belt challenge with Saya Kamitani earlier this year is a really, really good underrated match that kind of gets lost in the shuffle of that monster run from Saya Kamitani. But I will argue and say that Amisori's 2 best matches that she's had in her career happen on the 16th and then on the 17th, because the one with Suzu is just as good. And again, we'll get into that when we get into the show on the 17th. But yeah, you're absolutely right. This is like 75, 80% Amisori, and kudos to Tam. And I think we talked about this last week or the week before, where Tam is in these 5-star matches. She's the champion. She is the World of Stardom champion. She is the red belt champion. And a lot of these matches, she's just getting brutalized. And then she has her comeback, which is something different that we've seen. We've had Utami, we've had Shuri, and we've had Giulia as your last 3 World of Stardom champions. And whether they're in tag matches, 5-star Grand Prix matches, or championship matches, they've all been kind of like dominant, especially Shuri, because she has that MMA background. She has that aura where it's like, you're going to get your ass kicked. Where Tam in a lot of these matches, as hard of a hitter as she is, and as much as like her finishing offense with the Twilight Dream, with the violent screwdriver and the violent shootings, it is very, pun intended, violent. But a lot of these matches, she's fighting from underneath. So it's a different champion than we've had over the last 2 or 3 years. And it's something different. We've saw, in the Megan Bayne match, if you were to just look on that on paper from a kayfabe standpoint, she's the underdog. This match with Tora, going into this match with Tora, coming up October 9th. She can kind of be the underdog. She lost to Tora in the Cinderella tournament. She lost to Tora a few weeks ago in the 5-star. Tora has her number. So you're presenting Tam as a different champion, and it's a good way because Tam is pulling it off where she's very well improving on her selling, and then her comeback when she fires up, when she gets that fourth gear and she's throwing those spin kicks and those pump knees and the violent shooting, it does wonders for Tam and even more for her opponent, because her opponent very much can say, well, hey, I had her. I had her. And one of my big notes here is as Tam gives Ami Sourei a lot in this match, Ami is presented as a star and a threat, even to the point where if this was to go to like a 15-minute time limit, and then maybe they ran it back a week or two after the 5-star with the red belt on the line, you would say, you know what, that's a match I would like to see again, because Ami Sourei, who's never won, the Wonder Belt, never had a shot at the World Belt, you can present it that way just for the way that Tam gets Ami over here. And don't get me wrong, Ami does her job in full, but you're going into a tournament. This is a tournament where we knew we were going to be elevating certain wrestlers. Natsupoi, Azumi. I don't think anybody can say that they are not main eventers. If Azumi and Natsupoi were challenging for a zombie. I'm in the Halloween mode, brother. Batman's wrestling for Stardom. Look out, folks. If you were to present those, getting Wonder World Belt, no one would sneeze at it. Now you have Ami Sourei coming from, under, again, she only has 4 points, but she's getting over crazy in this tournament by the matches she's had, with Mayu, with Hazuki, and now Tam and Suzu Suzuki. Absolutely unbelievable the way that Tam is able to just eat the onslaught from Ami Sourei here. And then especially that Blue Thunder Bomb. Holy jeez. I was like, you still got a couple matches left, folks. You're going to break the ring. I mean, she puts poor Tam right through the ring with that brutal Blue Thunder Bomb. They do a great job building up towards that like a Thunderbolt. And it's a move that's very well protected. I don't think anybody's kicked out of it, but they do a great job teasing it. And how are certain people going to get out of it? Tam does a great job by turning the tide towards the tail end of this match, by hitting that reverse DDT and then switching her strategy up literally into the fourth quarter, to borrow a football term, American football term. Sorry, Rob. And then to change her strategy and then go to the neck with the violent shootings. And then she crushes Ami with a pair of kicks that leaves the opening for the Tiger Suplex. I absolutely love this match. I actually had it 4.5 stars. I loved it that much.
Wow. I mean, again, I gave it 4 stars. I love the performance of both women, and the fact that the World of Stardom champion is putting over Ami Sourei, even in defeat, really does go a long way. And Ami is going to come out of this tournament really, really reinvigorated, and that's what being in this block should have been. We move on then to Hazuki and Natsupoi. Hazuki has to win every single match that she's got left to remain in the tournament. She started with a victory over Natsupoi. It was always going to happen. They're in Fukuoka. They weren't going to have Hazuki lose. But this was a predictably rather good match. However, I think they've got another gear. Now, whether that's because, 15-minute time limit in the 5-star, or whether it's a litany of other things, I still think that, I gave this 4.25 stars. Really enjoyed the match. You've got Natsupoi, who is perhaps riding the crest of the biggest wave of her career at the moment. She seems to be completely incapable of wrestling a poor match ever, but certainly at the moment. And you've got Hazuki, of course, who's reinvigorated and is potentially going to be looking at topping Red Block. It was always going to be a good match. However, I wonder if they are going to run it back at some point, because I just felt like they left something, not in a bad way, but just as a little tease. And that might just be me. I might just be being completely out of my mind. But ultimately, correct result, fantastic match. There is a very, very strong case for Natsupoi being the MVP of this tournament. Whether she doesn't pick up another point, which, is a possibility, because looking at who she has got left, she's got Tam. She had Ami Sourei on the 18th, and she's got Tam on the 30th. There is a possibility she won't pick up another point. She might manage to get a victory over Ami Sourei, but I doubt she beats Tam. especially with, all of the debacle around Utami and the injury. But I don't think I'm on my own when I say that she has been perhaps the wrestler of the tournament, Matt.
Rob, I will agree with you on 2 points you just made, buddy. Number one, you are crazy, and that's why we absolutely love you. And number two, Natsupoi, as of this recording, is my MVP of the tournament. But we still have some more to go, brother. We still have more to go because Azumi's starting to come up and creep up for that case. Maybe I see your point a little bit where they left a little on the table. You had at 4.25. I had at 4.5. If they were to run this back maybe in a few months with one of these wrestlers, either holding the white or red belt, and had them go maybe about 20 minutes, I can see them hitting closer to the 5-star mark. So I see that point of view. Now, Rob, I cannot confirm nor deny, but based on some of the strikes I saw from these matches, I believe, again, I cannot confirm or deny that both of these wrestlers had to sign waivers that nobody would get sued or get arrested or press charges. Because, boy, even like Natsupoi throws she does the boot scrapes and face wash, and she hits that, basement DDT, which she does quite a bit, but she had a little extra stank on it for throwing on Hazuki, maybe as a receipt from their match from last year, because, oh boy, Hazuki beat the crap out of Natsupoi. But yeah, I mean, her throwing that low spin kick, I mean, Hazuki with the dive, both of them with their dives to the floor, really kind of going back and forth. And then, Hazuki going full Hazuki mode on Natsupoi. I think she might have thrown 2 or 3 extra, usually when she collapsed her opponent on going full Hazuki mode. And what we mean by that, folks, how we say Hazuki going full Hazuki mode is when Hazuki takes her left hand and she cups her opponent's back of her neck and she just starts throwing several forearms, like shotgun forearms, back, like constantly going. And then her opponent will collapse. And then she'll maybe throw one more and then and then she'll get the crowd involved. Hazuki is really good at getting the crowd involved in her matches. But like Natsupoi crumbled to the floor from going into full Hazuki mode, and Hazuki just kept throwing the forearms. It was like, what more do you want? Like, she's already on the ground, Hazuki. Like, holy jeez. And then, then Natsupoi comes back with that low spin kick that she beat Hanan with in the tournament last year. The one she threw at Tam during their feud last year about 4,000 times in their Cork and Hall main event. Just really good stuff back and forth. There was some really cool finishes with Natsupoi's won a lot of these matches with the Fairy Magic, which is her version of the Maestra Cradle. And Natsupoi gets out, and this is where this match really kicked up an extra gear for me. The whole match was fantastic, but what really kind of broke from 4.25 to 4.5 stars for me is Hazuki goes for the Brainbuster, which is her go-to, hold. She's got a lot of different ways she can beat you, but that's her bread and butter, her nuclear finish, if you will. And then Natsupoi gets out. She goes to lock in the Fairy Magic on Hazuki. Again, she's won a lot of matches in this tournament with the Fairy Magic. She's beaten Mayu with it. She beat Starlight Kid on night 1. And as she's rolling her with it, Hazuki just stops and cradles her and is able to get a 2.9 count. And then Hazuki goes for the Hazuki straw. And then Natsupoi returns the favor, and then she's able to stack Hazuki. So they did a great job building up to that finish. And then Hazuki was like, you know what, I'm just going to go full violent mode in order for me to get the win here. She hits a huge corner code breaker, the top rope senton, and then is able to chain that to be able to hit the Brain Buster in about 12.5 minutes. Yeah, love this match. 4.5 stars, sir.
And then, on top of that, we finish with Maika versus Azumi. And it's worth noting that after her match, Hazuki did take to the microphone to talk to the Fukuoka audience and said, maybe just for tonight, we should support Maika because she's also from Fukuoka, but just for tonight. She stressed that about 4 times, just for tonight. But this was another fantastic match. You talked about the coming of age of Azumi and the fact that she's so much more than a high-speed wrestler. Here, the disparity between the power of Maika and the speed of Azumi just worked so well, and especially, this match only goes 8 minutes. 8 minutes, 43 seconds. And they cram so much into it, and it feels like for a while Maika is struggling to navigate the speed with which Azumi is wrestling, and the fact that Azumi seems to have an answer and a roll-up and a reversal for every single thing that Maika throws at her. And then at the end, it just proves too powerful. She just manages to hit that powerbomb on Azumi, and that changes the entire complexion of the match. Michinoku Driver 2 and the win. I thought this was the perfect showcase for both wrestlers, especially Azumi, who was so brutal in her offense. There was one moment where she literally just kicks out Maika's arm from underneath her as she's attempting to get up, and it sounded and looked brutal. And that edge is something I want to see more of from Azumi. But for Maika, she's able to weather that storm, and then ultimately she's grown as a performer. These are the matches that she would have lost in previous tournaments. We've seen her lose in previous tournaments, yet here she's able to weather the Azumi storm and pop up powerbomb right at the right moment, and things are beginning to click for her after a fairly indifferent start to the tournament. She's still in the tournament. This does a world of good for her. It gives her the tiebreaker over Azumi, who needs a lot of help to stay in the tournament at this point. But Maika here, it felt like a very different wrestler. It felt like there was far more to her than there has been in prior tournaments. And that seems to be the story we're telling for a lot of wrestlers. But ultimately, Maika, able to weather the high-speed stuff for Azumi, able to overpower her with the powerbomb and the Michinoku driver. Fantastic match. Really, really good. 4.25 stars.
This was my favorite match of these 2 nights we're reviewing here, brother. I mentioned, I think probably the last 2 or 3 weeks on the show, that Azumi, that obviously she's perfect at the high-speed style, but she's wrestling a lot of these matches in this tournament almost as a counter wrestler. And this is like the perfect example. You have the match. It's like you see the psychology going. You kind of know what the match is going to be, but you see it going right, what it's going to be about 40 seconds in, where the Azumi's doing a lot of the high-speed stuff. And Maika, the power wrestler, finally grabs Azumi. What's the first thing she does? She dumps her over the top rope. Maybe she wants to go to WrestleMania, Rob. I don't know. And it was very violent dump over the top rope. I'm like, okay, this is how this one's going to go. Maika hits this. She kind of I don't know if she's ever done this before this tournament, but she does a running lariat off the apron. I've never seen her do it before, and I could be wrong, but she does it in almost every match in this tournament. And just like that, the release powerbomb that she's been doing, it's another move into her already impressive arsenal. So she hits the running lariat. She gets a little cocky for own too good. Azumi hits the Rana jumping off the apron that she does so much, and then hits a double stomp running off the apron. So we're like 2 minutes in, and this is what we have. So it's like, okay, we're going to cram a lot in here. Like you said, brother, in less than 9 minutes, and it's your main event. I liked how Azumi, she's trying to get the La Mystica in to get to the armbar. That's her bread and butter, is to go to the armbar. And every time she goes for it, Maika's able to counter. She counters it, by shooting her off. She counters one with the clothesline, and she does one with the fall-away slam. And then as Maika's building her momentum, she goes for the superplex. And this thing was mean to death all over Twitter or X or whatever it's called. I mean, I saw it 1,000 times before I even saw the match. But Azumi just flips out and lands on her feet. And I was like, I have no idea what her shins or her knees or her feet are made of. But the way that she's just able to land on her feet on everything. I mean, partner, we got, as this recording yesterday, we recorded the cage match where she does the double stomp off the top of the cage onto Starlight Kid and then uses Starlight Kid's body to spring up and then run off the top of the cage. I'm like, how is that possible? Azumi's just like not human. So, but then she's able to finally get the La Mystica, and how she's able to do it is, and I say this all the time, Azumi is one of the most underrated strikers in Stardom. And you have some of the best. You have Giulia, great striker, Mayu, great striker, obviously Shuri, Momo. I can go on and on and on. But how she's able to finally get the La Mystica to get into the double armbar as she hits this brutal head kick on the much stronger and powerful Maika. They wind up going back and forth. Azumi does a great job working the arm of Maika. And then if you remember last year of this tournament, Azumi was able to pin Maika by going back-to-back with the Canadian Destroyer into the Azumi Sushi. So she hits it here, but Maika's able to kick out. Azumi tries to start running a little high speed, but her high speed might have just been a little bit too fast because then Maika just absolutely drills Azumi with the 360 lariat, hits a huge power bomb. Anka Toshi scores her a 2 count, and then she finally puts Azumi away with the Michinoku driver. Yeah, this was great. This was brilliant. This just adds on more to how much we love Maika and adds on how much more we love Azumi. And I think as soon as I got done watching this match, I tweeted out, I'm like, you can make a case for Azumi being the best wrestler in the world. just for her, and she's just a few days away from being 21 years old, which is absolutely insane. Rob, I don't know what you were doing when you were 20 years old. I was sneaking beers and probably failing a college class when I was 20. I wasn't being the best wrestler in the world like Azumi is. That's for damn sure. But I'm just a huge fan of Azumi. I just love her work, the way she's able to go from high speed to technical wrestling to great psychology to great storytelling to be a great singles wrestler, a great tag wrestler, a great trios wrestler. I mean, this girl at 20 years old can really do it all. And oh, by the way, Rob, this Maika, she's pretty good as well. 4 3/4 stars.
Wow. I have sort of looked back at my rating and I have gone up. I've given it 4.5. I thought it was really, really good and a fantastic example of both women's abilities. It's funny you should mention about Azumi being the best wrestler in the world, especially when you consider her age. When I was 20, there is a high probability that I was crying and contemplating my life's choices. I certainly was not being the best wrestler on the planet. That is for damn sure. Let's move on then to night 17, the final show we're going to be talking about today from Sunday the 17th of September 2023 and this is perhaps the greatest named venue in the history of Stardom. Are you ready, Matt?
I'm excited, my friend.
Oh my God. The Saga City Morodomi Cultural Gymnasium Heartful from Saga. What a name. What a venue name. And 518 people were crammed inside. Let's talk about the results. We open with a singles match with Sourei getting a victory over Hanako with a modified stretch plum in 6 minutes and 46 seconds. I have never, Matt, been happier about an opening singles match than I was on this card. About damn time.
Rob, correct me if I'm wrong. By my calculation, I believe this is Saida's 4th single win during the 5-star. So that puts Saida up to 8 points in the green block.
She is definitely winning the green block. We then had a 3-way tag team match. The Uedatai team of Ruaka and Starlight Kid defeating the Club Venus team of Mina Shirakawa and Waka Tsukiyama and the Queen's Quest team of Azumi and Utami Hayashishita in 6 minutes and 31 seconds. Starlight Kid submitting Waka with the Black Tiger Leg Killer. Tag team match, the team of Maika and Megan Bain defeated the Cosmic Angels team of Tam Nakano and Yuna Mizumori in 8 minutes and 31 seconds. Megan Bain hitting that choke bomb again onto Yuna. We then had the ridiculously fun high-speed 5-way match, which saw Koguma defeating Hazuki, Meisei, Natsupoi, and Saki Kashima in 6 minutes and 15 seconds. In perhaps the most gifable match on the entire show. We then have our 5-star matches. Momo Watanabe moves to 8 points, defeating Hanan, who remains on 2 points. Hanan, of course, long ago eliminated from the tournament with the Hito Danashi driver in 10 minutes and 59 seconds. Spoiler, another great showing for Hanan. We then have more blue block action. Mirai moving to 8 points, defeating Mariah May, who stays on 6 points in 12 minutes and 53 seconds with the Miramare Shock. And then in your main event, we talked about it earlier, another fantastic showing for Amisori. The red block saw Suzu Suzuki move to 8 points, defeating Amisori, who stays on 4 points in 11 minutes and 29 seconds with the Tequila Shot. Now, Matt, a couple of things to come out of this show. This victory from Suzu over Amisori, if it wasn't already the most important night of the tournament coming up, the 23rd of September, Suzu Suzuki versus Hazuki, is so pivotal because the loser will be eliminated and the pressure is on Hazuki because Suzu already has 2 points in the bank because she was supposed to be taking on Saya Kamatani on the final night, as we mentioned last week. So this victory here against another ridiculously motivated performance from Amisori was so important, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I have to take a look once we get off this podcast. I'm going to take a look at all the different scenarios, especially with Utami's injury. Again, even if Utami is able to come back and do the final matches with Han and Giulia, she does give up those 2 points to Mirai from that match from today. So yeah, a lot of things shaken up. I'm going to have to see because if you're going to ask me who wins that match between Hazuki and Suzuki, other than me and you, for the enjoyment, that one might go to the old TLD, my man. We haven't seen Rossi pull out the TLD in about a few weeks, so that one may come there, but it's going to be a phenomenal match. I can't wait to see the sheer violence that's going to happen on that one. And can we just say, like, Hazuki, how awesome is Hazuki? She comes to the ring smiling, looking like $1,000,000, waving, taking pictures, and that bell rings and she just turns into an absolute savage. I was like, remember that gimmick that Doc Gallows used to do when he was like Festus in the WWE, where like once the bell rang, that's the way it is, but done way better. Way better. No disrespect to one Doc Gallows, who's a really, really good brother. I've been on a zillion shows with him before he, broke out to be the big star that he is. But that's what that is done right. She comes in again looking like $1,000,000, and then that bell rings, and it's just like, oh boy, it's on. And Suzu Suzuki very much is like very stoic. Like, when she comes to the ring, she's not unless she's with Megan Bain or something. She comes to the ring, she's very stoic, very like it's going to be a violent match. But anywho, yeah, this was a really, really good show. The fact that 5-way high-speed match was almost like FWC versus the three, versus like Mei, Sarah, Saki Kashima, and Natsupoi. And then all of a sudden just goes completely off the rails and it goes to the outside. And I'm like, obviously the main draw of this card is the 5-star. Like, no disrespect to the undercard matches. Like, it's nice to see everybody come in and, they get their time in and you set stuff up. Obviously they set up, in the 3-way tag, they set up to Azumi's 10th anniversary match. We'll get to that in a minute. But like, they go to the outside and I was like, wouldn't this be funny if this ends in like a 4-way count out with Kagama winning? And it sure did. And I was like, that is the perfect finish. Like, obviously if it was pay-per-view and it was for the title, I might have felt a little robbed, but I was like, oh man, that was great. Cause you're going to get like violent, hard hitting matches in these last three 5-star matches. And we did, but yeah, going back real quick. First of all, congratulations, Saida, 8 points in the Green Star block. I'm super excited to see her where she's going to finish on the final night of this tournament. But yeah, the 3-way tag with Azumi Utami versus Mina Waka and Starlight Kid Ruaka that ultimately sets up. That was funny how like at first when the match happened, when the graphic came up, I'm like, this has got to be a win for Azumi and Utami, right? Because they're going on October 9th for the tag belts. Starlight Kid gets the submission win, and I was like, that's kind of an interesting choice. But then I see why. Starlight Kid gets the microphone, basically challenges Azumi, saying, hey, you got your 10th anniversary match coming up. You need to wrestle Starlight Kid. And Azumi's like, yeah, we've done that 1,000 times before, and we'll probably do it another 1,000 times. But I want to have a tag match. And then Utami's like, hey, I'm right here. Let's do a tag match. And then you have Starlight Kid's like, well, I need a tag partner. Who can it be? And out comes Momo Watanabe. Not Rob Goodwin. As you know, I do not have a single favorite wrestler in Stardom. However, I do have a favorite faction, as you know, good sir. So you have, in this match, you have the longest tenure member of Queen's Quest, Azumi. You have the current leader of Queen's Quest, in Utami. And then the longest leader of Queen's Quest, Momo Watanabe, in this match. Oh, and who's the fourth person? Yeah, Starlight Kid. What a great 10th anniversary match this is going to be.
Completely agree. I just speaking about this 5-way match, sorry. Obviously, Koguma winning by 4-way countout makes the most sense when you look at how this match was wrestled. But can we just take a moment to appreciate Saki Kashima, who throughout this match did everything possible to not engage with the other 4 people in the ring, and at one point stood in the center of the ring as all 4 women wrestled round her. It was honestly, considering the title runs we've had with the high-speed title, and I know I've said this before with Azumi, Natsupoi, and Starlight Kid, where we just expected fantastic matches. This run of Saki Kashima desperately attempting to defend the belt and to wrestle matches without actually engaging with people is phenomenal comic work. And I'm considering it went 6 minutes, I do encourage you to go and check it out because it is incredibly exciting and incredibly fun to watch. Speaking of the talent in that match that you just talked about, that three-way tag, like the depth in Stardom's roster, and not only the depth, but the youth in Stardom's roster is frightening. Like Utami, I think, is 23, maybe 24. Azumi's 20. Ruaka isn't even, I don't think she's 18 yet, or she might just be 18. Starlight Kid's 20. You know, there's so much talent, and we've got them for so long as well. Like, Starlight Kid is phenomenal. Azumi's phenomenal. Neither woman has reached their peak yet. That is frightening, Matt.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, Utami just had a birthday, I believe. So she just turned 24. So Zumi's birthday is the day before my daughter, so she'll turn 21. Suzuki's 20 or 21. No, she's 20. She's 20 because so yeah, against I think Starlight Kid is like the same age as Azumi. And then you have Hana, Rina, Hina as well. It's just like holy jeez. Like it's just absolutely insane. It's like Mayu is like the senior member of this roster at like 30 years old or whatever, however old she is. It's just, yeah, you're right. I mean, we're only the best is yet to come from, you know, the wrestlers of the young 20s of a Suzuki, an Azumi, and a Starlight Kid. And yeah, it's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane on just how loaded this roster is with talent at such a young age.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of young ages, Hanan in this match with Momo Watanabe. What a fantastic performance. She's won one match all tournament. She's 1-6, I believe. And yet here, there was very, very tangible moments where you were like, she's going to win this. She's going to upset Momo. And the chemistry these two had, you know, we didn't have Momo just relying on bat shots. We had the fantastic reversals out of the B-driver, the really good baby face pop that we got for Hanan throughout this entire match. I thought she did phenomenally well. Ultimately, losing was probably the right choice, especially as we try and stack the top of this blue block. But ultimately, what a performance from Hanan, Matt, who I've said before, I will say again, is a future World of Stardom champion and the heir apparent in babyface to Mayu Iwatani. I wholeheartedly believe that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think she's going to be the first wrestler to capture everything. Like I can see her getting up maybe even a high speed run because she could just take her offense and just speed it up just a little, and it would make sense in the high speed division. I see her winning the Wonder Belt. I see her winning the World Belt. She could really do it all at such a young age. I think just turned 19. You mentioned that Momo Watanabe, Rob Goodwin, did not need to learn on bat shots. Kind of disagree with you because she did bat shots, but with her feet. Because she must have kicked Hanan about 40 times, and it was in it, you know, and it made, let me back up a little. I'm going to say something. I don't want you to get mad at me, my friend. I'm really starting to like Hana's new theme. Do I like it better than the old theme? Hold on. Let me finish. Do I like it better than the old theme? No, I don't. But I am enjoying it very much. And I'm going to say something else again. You're going to get mad. Giulia's new theme.
No, absolutely not. No.
Is it better than... Oh my goodness.
That's it. We're ending the podcast right here, right now. Thank you so much for listening, you guys. Absolute disgraceful behavior from you, Turner. Like, the Hanan theme, I can sort of understand. But the bloody royalty-free lounge music that Giulia's coming out to now, no. I blame that music for her dropping the World of Stardom Championship. That's how bad it is. Don't you come to me with your positivity about that bloody song. No.
Anyway, Momo Watanabe versus Hana. Great match. Hana using chain wrestling and counter chain wrestling to get the advantage on Momo, and Momo would just go to the kicks, which I absolutely love, very much like her Wonder of Stardom Championship run. For all you fantastic Patreon members, Rob and I did a complete review of that, so it is in your Patreon feed. And if you wish to listen to that, it's only $3, folks. Go subscribe. There's a lot of cool stuff on there. Anywho, so I just loved it how then Momo would try something else, and Hana would counter it. and Momo would get the advantage back by going to kicks. It makes sense. It's literally her, for lack of a better term, her Mike Tyson uppercut, or her, her left jab that would basically get the advantage back, like Okada using the drop kick, like Mayu using the super kick. And in this match, it's Hanan is able to reverse a good majority of what Momo needs to do. And then Momo, again, going back to the kicks. Momo hits the Uranagi, goes for the Samato, misses. And when she does, Hana follows up with that huge running European uppercut, that move that she added to her arsenal. But this one, she does one right to the back of Momo's neck. It's just like, well, Momo's going to bring the stiff, then Hana's going to bring the stiff. So I thought that was really good. It was a really cool spot where Momo gets the advantage back by, again, using the kicks, she locks Hana in the crossface chicken wing. Hana gets the rope. Momo goes to the top rope for the top rope Samato. Hana's able to counter and gets up and basically slams Momo from the top rope. Hana's special, again, that stiff European uppercut. Momo's able to come back with a really stiff kick. Hanan is able to, she gets a back suplex with Momo on the top rope, which I thought was really, really cool. Really great visual, just showing that maybe Hana can pull this upset off with Momo in the running here. Blue Stars, if she in the Blue Star block, if she loses to Hanan, it's going to really hurt her chances here. So Hanan, again, who only has 2 points in this match, really does a great job playing spoiler, especially in the underdog babyface role. But I really liked how this match finished. Hanan is able to Momo goes for the B driver. Hanan is able to roll Momo up, gets a 2 count, and then Momo throws a head kick. Now, it's only been mid kicks pretty much for the entire match for her. Goes to throw the big Mirko Krokop style head kick. Hanan ducks, sweeps Momo's leg out, and then does the 17 roll up for 2.9 on, and people watching this match, the crowd really bit on. But then when they break up on the fall, the way that Hanan just turns right into that stiff, super stiff Krokop style head kick from Momo that leads to the B driver, the bastard driver for the 3 count. Again, great tournament for Hanan. Momo Watanabe showing why Io Shirai back 5 years ago handed over the reins of Queen's Quest to her when she was just 18 years old. Again, Momo, she's only 23, 24 years old. Here's another one that's very young, in her young 20s, that is going on, and very quietly, somebody else you can tag as MVP of this tournament. A great showing from both these wrestlers, and it got it done in about 11 minutes. I had this at 4.25 stars, partner.
Exactly the same. Exactly the same. I thought it was a really, really good showing for both women. Speaking of a good showing, Mirai has managed to turn round her really spotty early tournament form, coming away with another victory over Mariah May. Mariah May still in the running in the tournament, but it would take a significant amount of upheaval at the top of the block for her to top it. What has your opinion been on Mariah May's tournament? Do you think there are still doubters, or do you think that she has managed to quieten all of those doubters, Matt?
I think she's been able to quiet a lot of the doubters for a lot of different reasons. She's able to wrestle the submission style. She's able to wrestle the hard-hitting style. We've seen her improve on selling. We've seen her improving in tag matches. We've seen her improving on the big moves. We've seen her being able to surprise a lot of wrestlers with, how she was able to upset Momo Watanabe with that roll-up that I believe she calls Once Upon a Time. The fact that she's going out there and she's having so much fun in these matches, whether the undercard matches, teaming with Mina and Waka and whatnot. We saw in Cork and Hall that she came out with a Waka on her shoulders. Like, it reminded me of like the full-blooded Italians with little Guido and Big Sally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's your comparison, folks. There's your ECW reference. That she just seems like she's having so much fun. And if you follow her on any of her social medias, which I suggest that you do, she's just having so much fun. She's having possibly feud of the year with May Sarah, and the fact that they've not, and I'm talking just on Twitter alone or X or whatever it's called, like the fact that like they're sitting with each other on the bus, and it's just like, I just want to throw her off the bus right now. It's like, this is like feud of the year, and it's not even happening in front of the cameras. The way she's able to sell it, I mean, she really is the complete package. And she did mention on Twitter that she is not eligible to win the 5-star. And a lot of people think because she is not on the Goddess of Stardom tournament that she's heading her way to either WWE or AEW. But she did say, fortunately, I will not be able to win the 5-star, but there's always next year. So maybe something's happening. Maybe she's just working us. I don't know. She's fantastic in the ring. She's working her ass off. She's having a great time. She's very engaging with her fans. Mariah May, for somebody who 8 months ago, I had no idea who she was, is completely taking this stacked Stardom roster by storm and is having a fantastic tournament. Oh, and by the way, Mariah's really good too. She was great here, with the submissions and the mirror Mariahs and the lariats and the way they were able to kind of weave in and out with certain counters. So you didn't know where it was going to go, but eventually it was a huge lariat and the mirror Mariah shock, which we haven't seen Mariah win a lot of matches with, this year with. That was kind of one of that, and the double wrist lock was kind of her bread and butter. So it was nice to see her hit a thunderous lariat to set up the mirror Mariah shock. So both Mariah, phenomenal tournament, blowing out of the water. Mariah May as well. And interesting to see what's going to happen with Mariah after this 5-star. I don't expect her to win, but we do have coming up on the 9th, Rob. She's going to finish really strong. I mean, she's on 8 points. Even if she doesn't have another win, 8 points in this kind of condensed, shorter tournament is a really good mark to have. And then we're going to see on the 9th, she's going to be wrestling Momo Watanabe. They've teased a Wonder of Stardom championship match with Sourei Anu. And then I think after those 2 successful title defenses, depending what's going on with Mina did defeat Mariah early in the tournament and did say she wants a shot back at the Wonder of Stardom championship. That's where I think they go with that. But again, the tournament could be, up in jeopardy. But Mariah's schedule after this tournament is only going to build her up, considering the fact, again, we have a Momo Watanabe Wonder of Stardom match that is official. Probably a Sourei Anu, Ano, excuse me, I'm going to get that right, with a Tom's Tundra, and then possibly a Mina Shirakawa match as well. So only big things for Mariah on the horizon, my friend.
Yeah, completely agree. Mariah May, 24 years old, by the way, it's worth noting. So another one for the future, especially if Stardom can somehow hold on to her. I know that she has teased that an upcoming show is going to be a big show. So I don't know if we have got an announcement coming soon. I don't know. But this match was absolutely brilliant. And I think this match shows just what a fantastic wrestler Mariah May is. Now, don't get me wrong. Mariah, brilliant, has really, really come to terms with her role in these matches. But for me, Mariah May really, really excelled in this match. That Mariah cutter, actually managing to hoist Mariah onto her shoulders and then hit the Mariah cutter was fantastic. Some of the kicks that she landed into the face of Mariah were absolutely brutal. I'll be amazed if Mariah isn't walking around with a footprint emblazoned on her cheek at the end of this match. But if this is the last time we see Mariah May, and she doesn't come back for the tournament next year and she does go on to WWE or AEW or wherever, I think she's done a tremendous amount of good work in Stardom. And I think, she's far surpassed any expectations even the most positive person could have had. I think she's not only connected with a fan base that don't speak the same language as her, but she's done it effortlessly. So I'm sure Mariah May doesn't listen to this podcast, but Mariah May, if for some reason you are listening, tremendous work. Well done. And you will be sorely missed if you do leave Stardom. We move on then to the main event, Suzuki and Ami Sourei. I'm conscious of the time just because I've got to go and give George his painkillers. But, Matt, another fantastic performance by Ami Sourei in this one.
You knew what you were going to get, especially the fact that we see Ami Sourei the night before with that brutal match with, and brutal, I mean hard-hitting good, and Suzuki brings the violence, and you knew what you were going to get. It's like I went to a steakhouse, I ordered steak, and they brought me a steak because that's what I wanted. That's what happened here. This was brutal back and forth with just the forearms, the chops, the kicks, the boot scrapes, just really great back and forth action here. I really liked how Suzu is able to, Ami Sourei had that high angle Boston crab that she works in quite a bit, but then Suzuki is able to almost do like a push up from there and is able to counter with a hurricanrana. We've never seen the Ami Sorei's high angle Boston crab counter that way. So I thought it was really cool and really innovative from Suzuki. And we've seen Suzu use this submission a handful of times, but it's basically she wraps you into a knee bar and then she takes her leg and she puts it over your head in a neck crank, and then she grabs your arm and slowly works into the double wrist lock. It's like 3 submissions in once, and I absolutely love it, especially like when you get the camera work a certain way. And kudos to the fantastic camera people over at Stardom and Stardom World for able to catch it. So when she's like working into the double wrist lock, she gets Ami's wrist and is able to like twist it like 180 degrees one way and 180 degrees in the other way, and then locks in the double wrist lock. I absolutely love that. Just another wrinkle in the fantastic offense that is Suzu Suzuki. Ami Sourei gets the advantage back by throwing just blistering chops onto Suzu Suzuki, and then sets her up for a top rope German suplex. Suzu is able to get out and hits this disgusting spider German suplex. Yikes, that was something. Eventually, Suzu is able to then just really pour on more offense onto Ami Sourei. She hits that kick trio that she's pretty well perfected on this tournament, and then is able to hit back-to-back the tequila shot into the German suplex for a 3 count. I thought the kind of way this match was building, maybe Ami would have hit 1 or 2 more things to tease towards the finish in the end, maybe just to give her a little more offense. But regardless, this match was fantastic. It was hard-hitting. Suzu able to blitz Ami at the end of the match, with really that spider German suplex really spelling the doom for the former Wonder of Stardom champion. Excellent stuff, and I had it 4 1/4 stars.
Yeah, I had it at 4 stars. I thought another really, really good Ami Sourei match. Suzu Suzuki just continues to be a star, and her star is only going to rise. She is one of those people like a Hanan, but even more imminently, I can see them building the entire company around. She's got absolutely everything. She's got effortless charisma. She's got a fantastic move set. My one complaint, and it's not a big complaint, it's not even a complaint, I'd love to see her adapt a new finisher. Just because the tequila shot, great move, obviously adapted and inherited from Tequila Saya. I just think sometimes it is extremely convoluted to get into the move. I'd love to see her have either a secondary finish or move the tequila shot to be a secondary finish and create a new one that is slightly less contrived to get into. That is my one very, very minor complaint about Suzu Suzuki, who is rapidly becoming a person you cannot ignore on this roster. She is coming, and there's nothing you can do about it. Looking at these blocks then, obviously we are 2 nights in arrears. We're not going to be talking about the show from, I believe, Yamagata on the 18th, or the show from the 20th, Yamaguchi, sorry, on the 18th, or indeed from Osaka on the 20th. So as it stands from the shows that we've talked about today, no confirmed eliminations. People are still mathematically in the tournament, but it's going to take a lot for some of these people to get in. Natsupoi still remains second in the block. Red Stars stays with Tora at the top on 12. Natsupoi, Sourei, and Tam all on 9 points. Suzu Suzuki on 8, Hazuki on 8, and then eliminated Mayu 7, Ami Sourei 4, Starlight Kid 4. The Blue Stars block, honestly, it is anyone's game at this point. Giulia sits at the top on 9, Utami 8, Mirai 8, Sourei Anu 8, Momo 8, Maika 7, Mariah May 6, Mina 6, Azumi 6, and the only person actually eliminated from Blue Block as it stands is Hanan, who sits at 1 and 6. In terms of matches left, this is where things get really, really interesting. Hazuki, Suzu Suzuki, and Tam have all got 2 matches left. Sourei has got 3 left. Natsupoi has got 2 left. Tora has 1 left. Blue Block, again, it's anyone's game. Giulia has 2 left. Utami has 3 left. Mirai has 2 left. Sourei Anu only has 1 left. Again, Sourei Anu, despite being on 8 points, it's looking increasingly unlikely that she is going to get to the final especially if she's only got one match left. She can only get a maximum of 10 points. A Giulia victory eliminates her. Momo has got 2 left. Maika has got 3 left. Mariah May's got 2 left. Mina has got 3 left. And Azumi has got 2 left. Matt, we're no closer to finding out who is going to win, but by next week, and this is sort of a segue into our preview for what we're going to be looking at next week. See what I did there? I learned from the best. By the end of our podcast next week, we should have a very, very clear idea of who is going to be heading into that final night and who is going to be sort of the spoilers heading in. So next week, we are going to be previewing New Blood 11. We're going to be previewing the 5-star final, which emanates from the 30th of September from Yokohama Budokan. A can't miss night. It's going to be incredible. However, the matches that we need to take a look at, I'm just quickly going to read through just the 5-star ones. The show from the 18th on Monday, so the Monday just gone, Natsupoi versus Sourei, versus Amisori from Red Block, Mina versus Momo from Blue Block. Also on the undercard, Hazuki and Mayu versus Utami and Azumi. On the undercard. What? That's going to be incredible. If it goes to a 15-minute time limit draw, hell yes, Matt Turner. We've then got on the 20th, which was today as we record, Tam versus Sourei. That could really make things interesting in Red Block. Giulia versus Azumi. Obviously, we know the unfortunate circumstances surrounding Mirai and Utami, and then Maika versus Mariah May. And then on the 23rd, we have got a Red Block match, Hazuki versus Suzuki, that really important Red Block matchup we talked about before. And in Blue Block, Maika versus Mina Shirakawa. With Mina having quite a few matches left, she's still very much in the mix for this tournament. So next week, hopefully, we will have reviews of the 18th, the 20th, and the 23rd of September. All of those shows we will review next week, and maybe if it is up in time, and it's a big if, we'll be reviewing the 24th as well. As I mentioned before, we are going to be previewing New Blood and the 5-star final. It will be a huge show next week, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. And it's just, I'm super excited to see who wins this tournament. A lot of my favorite wrestlers, are still alive in this tournament. But let's not forget, one of my favorite all-time wrestlers did win this tournament many years ago, one Io Shirai. And that is my segue, Rob Goodwin, to the Io Shirai watch from the last 2 weeks. We were running short on time last week, so we did not get to talk about the match that happened, I believe, on the 8th of September, which was Io Shirai, the current WWE Women's Champion, teaming with Bayley to take on the team of Shotzi and Charlotte Flair. We have a crazy brawl to start. Everybody goes to the outside. It reminded me of a Oedo Tai match. Io Shirai realizes everybody's on the outside, so she hits her picture-perfect Asai moonsault to the floor. We get some mini heat on Shotzi. Shotzi is able to hit up a step-up Enziguri onto Bayley. We get the hot tag to Charlotte Flair. Charlotte comes in, chops the world, is able to hit the cartwheel clothesline and fall-away slam onto Io Shirai. Eventually, a big melee ensues. We see Asuka appear from the crowd to distract everybody, basically allowing Shotzi to hit Bayley with her cross leg. I believe it's a cross leg face DDT, or cross leg DDT for the win, and that we find out setting up for 2 weeks, which would actually be this Friday. So the day this drops, we get the dream match. Rob Goodwin, Io Shirai defending the World of Stardom Championship. How about that? Defending the WWE Women's Championship against Asuka. This past week, Io Shirai watch, Rob, there was no Io Shirai watch. She was not on SmackDown. Michael Cole did say during the Asuka Bayley match, which was great, that Io was training for her match at Asuka. We found out a day or two later where Io was. Do you know where Io was this past week, Rob Goodwin?
I know exactly where Io was, Matt. She was in the middle of Tokyo.
Yes, getting her picture taken to be on the front cover of Weekly Pro Wrestling magazine. That's where she was, folks. So if she was training for a match with Asuka, maybe she visited the Stardom Dojo. In my mind, that's what happens there.
Certainly. Excellent recap, Matt, as always. Just quickly before we sign off, I want to remind everyone that we recently announced on social media that our next interview is locked in. 4th of October, we are going to be interviewing Club Venus's Jessie. I can't wait to talk all things Stardom and NXT and to find out if Mariah May does hate May Sayre as much as she says she does. I can't wait to check that out. Make sure if you've got any questions, you wherever you listen to us, whether it's on, whether you follow us on social media or whether you're a patron or whether you're in our Discord, leave your questions and we'll try and get through as many as is humanly possible. But Matt, I think it's time we sign off. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone that takes the time to listen, watch, subscribe, or even just interact with us wherever you are. We really massively appreciate it. Thank you to all of our patrons as well over at patreon.com/the Stardomcast. You guys are awesome. If you can't subscribe to the Patreon for whatever reason but are looking for a way to support the show, leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcast does us a huge favor because it boosts us up those podcast ratings. We've got loads on Spotify now. We've got loads from America, so thank you to our American contingent on Apple Podcasts. We honestly, absolutely tremendous support. So thank you. If you want to follow us on social media, you can at the Stardomcast. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Stardomcast. If you want to talk to me on Twitter, you can at Real Rob Goodwin. Matt Turner, sign us off, good sir.
Absolutely. Like Rob said, you guys know all the ways to support us. If there's another way that you can support us, you can tag myself and Rob into your Bipoi tweets. We would really, really appreciate that. It gives us a massive energy boost anytime that we see it. You could do angry poi, you could do silly poi, you want to dress up as a clown and do Bipoi. We're all about the Bipoi movement here on the Stardom Cast. Folks, that'll wrap it up for another fantastic episode. We greatly appreciate your support. Anything that we can do to help or anything that you think that we can do to improve the podcast, let us know. Because like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast because we're all together and everybody's different. Everybody's special.